Paper is this amazing thing that we use every day, and nobody really thinks about the origins of paper.
I think that paper is a really important product to improving people's lives, but it's been made in ways that are wasting too many resources.
The Environmental Paper Network and the organizations that make up the Environmental Paper Network are on the front lines of challenging one of the most destructive industries of our time. And it's no longer an option for us to let business go on as usual with the paper industry.
The Environmental Paper Network is a collaboration of lots of environmental groups working in a consistent direction and a common vision for transforming the paper industry to more sustainable production processes for paper.
We exist to coordinate the efforts of leading environmental organizations working to transform the paper industry. We help coordinate their efforts, share their expertise, focus them on a common goal.
Some of us work on recycling issues, some of us work on forest issues, some work on toxics issues. All of these come together under the umbrella of the Environmental Paper Network to present a consistent, common direction for the future so that it's easy for purchasers to know, how do I make a good environmental choice when I'm buying paper?
There's this huge wealth of knowledge about what's in your paper and what the really smart, innovative solutions are when we come together, collaborate, and share ideas.
A sign of success will be that this has to be a win-win for both industry and the environment, that it needs to be one that's sustainable on all levels.
If nobody says anything about this, if no one raises their voice, then people will continue to go further and further out for this wood that they want to make this paper.
It matters for the future of your planet, of our planet, because when you start to really look at what's in your paper, you'll find out it's coming from caribou habitat, from Sumatran tiger habitat, from areas where there's disputes with First Nations, or First Nations are dying from mercury poisoning, or massive clear cuts in very sensitive ecosystems. Carbon-rich forests, old-growth forests, endangered forests all around the world, or your paper's impacting really sensitive ecosystems and grasslands in Africa.
There are solutions in the marketplace brought about by a lot of the work of the organizations that are part of this network that are cost affordable, they meet everyone's needs, and they are much, much better for the environment.
The paper industry actually has a very large impact on the climate.
The pulp and paper industry is the third largest user of fossil fuel energy in the United States and the fourth largest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions.
The average virgin paper company is using about 3 tons of trees for every ton of paper they get out. So they have to keep going into the forest, taking the trees, with all that carbon that's been stored there.
If we're cutting down forests and then we're putting that paper into landfills to degrade and create methane, which is 23 times more potent than carbon dioxide, it's not a sustainable path.
You have to take those trees, cut them down, get them out of the forest on big trucks that use a lot of fuel, get them to a pulp mill, turn the big logs into wood chips, and then put those wood chips and either grind them up or cook them. And all of that is a very, very, very energy intensive process, cooking the wood or grinding it up, so that you can get the bad stuff out of the wood that you don't want and leave behind the fibers that make the pulp that you use for paper.
The truth is, there are forests with very high ecological values that are being damaged, destroyed, or converted to plantations.
When you convert a natural forest to a plantation, you have eliminated biodiversity, water quality, and also eliminated the forest's ability to really store and sequester carbon.
Probably the best known pollution problem is dioxin, which is a very toxic chemical that's produced when you bleach with chlorine or chlorine dioxide, chlorine-based compounds. They also put a lot of literally junk, organic waste into the waters that they discharge to, and that stuff rots in the water and takes oxygen out of the water as it's rotting, and that produces problems for fish to breathe. They also can very seriously warm up the temperature of rivers, which can be a problem in a state like I'm from, Maine, where we're famous for cold water fish that need cool temperatures like trout or salmon.
The major purchasers of paper products have enormous buying power in the marketplace. And if they're making responsible choices, if they're demanding recycled products and other environmental solutions, then the people who are making those products to sell to them have no choice but to change.
The great thing is there are a lot of solutions out there as far as what we're sourcing from our forests. Our goal in the Environmental Paper Network is to get people to implement policies where they are really using strong environmental attributes in their fiber, as far as maximizing the recycled content, only sourcing from sustainable forestry practices like the Forest Stewardship Council, also reducing the amount of fiber that they're using in their products, and making commitments not to source from endangered forests.
Rather than leverage a lot of citizen concern to the government or to the paper companies themselves, leverage that concern directed at these big companies that have a lot of stake in terms of their brand and their public relations image.
Awareness at the government level and with individuals, I'd say that's growing. And part of that is because as a company like Staples or Office Depot shifts, then it makes it easier for the solutions to be available to individuals.
We did a joint press release and press conference with Staples announcing a new environmental policy. This was the first of its kind among the big office supply retailers.
Because of us, J.K. Rowling became a spokesperson for recycled paper, and Harry Potter, the last issue, was printed on eco-paper in 24 countries. And last year, Canadian Geographic magazine was printed on paper with wheat straw, the first magazine in North America on the wheat sheet.
So we formed the Book Industry Environmental Council, and that group, coordinated by us, was able to set a goal for reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 20% by the year 2020. We've also increased recycled fiber use from a baseline of 2.5% up to 13%, past 13%. So we've increased recycled fiber use sixfold in 3 years.
And in that way, by us working on the book sector, newspaper sector, magazine sector, we're all pushing in the same direction and working to win the same ball game of transforming the paper industry towards sustainability.
So the way that we can have the most impact in turning that tide is to have all the environmental groups working together. And that's what's been really exciting to me about the Environmental Paper Network.
Environmental Paper Network has a vision, we have the expertise, and we have a plan to solve one of the world's most significant environmental challenges. And we need new partners to help us achieve success.